Hello and welcome. Now that we are set to go, and this will be my first video on HTML. So let's get started with already downloaded stuffs that we learned how to download in the last class. So here we have got the Orion shortcut over here. So just click Orion shortcut and just you see the end. You have got OSGI. This part. Just minimize the screen and we will go into the browser and type localhost 8080. And then we need to just press it. Let me just remove a part of it. Let me see. Index.html, localhost 8080 index.html. Okay. So, and then let's press enter. So we are brought to this particular part. And what you need to do is that you need to bookmark this page. In future, I don't have to do it again and again, localhost 8080. What you need to do, if you bookmark the page like the way I have bookmarked over here, you can bookmark over there anywhere you want to. The simple process of the bookmarking is, let's say I go to a site and tell you how to bookmark a page. Let's say I go to W3 Schools. This is a very important website actually for learning any language. And it's worth bookmarking this thing. So let's go into it. And you see, we have got w3schools.com. So what we can do is that we can bookmark this tab. It says that you can make a new folder and you can do that, or you can just add it into the mail. I already have a mail, or you can choose another folder. So do we have a folder over here? I will say I'll go with a new folder. So inside the mail. No, I don't want to go inside the mail. Rather, I will just add it in the bookmark section, a new folder. So you see, when I press bookmark, it's adding over here like Fiori BDP tutorial, the thing that you saw added over here. And you see that this also added a new folder over here. So let's delete it. It can't be deleted over here right now. Not able to delete. Okay, yeah, right click and delete this one. I don't need that one. So I'm creating a new folder over here. This, and name the folder as W3 Schools Online. So just name the folder. Okay, or you can name it anything else. Let me see. I will name it as My Favorites. FAVOURITS. My Favorites. Okay. What I did is that I just pressed over here like this, and I added a new folder and got added over here, right? A new folder. I pressed over here, it became blue. Then I pressed new folder, a new folder got added. Okay, now I'm going to save it. Once you save it, you see there's a folders, my favorites. And what is this? Empty. What is this? This is the thing that we bookmarked. So let me go and just put this inside the new folder. It did not go inside the new folder rather. So I drag it and put it inside the new folder. Okay. That means the new folder did not get a name. Fine. So we delete it, don't need it. And we'll just delete this thing. Right click, delete. Right. So you can bookmark the page. So just delete all the things. And then just we need only this one. So we come to this point and sign in. And what is this? We are into a different page. So the right page should have been this one. This one and this particular thing. Find something web IDE index.html. So let's first cut things. Uh, I'll cut it. And I want to go to web IDE, web IDE, index.html. Let's localhost 8080 web IDE index.html. Let's press enter. And you see, this is what you have to type. Once you type it and then bookmark it, type localhost 8080 web IDE index.html and then bookmark it. Okay, close. So we get a brand new space over here. So today we're going to start with our HTML. So what is HTML? HTML is nothing but a markup language. It's not a programming language. If you go into the history of HTML, it all got started in the year 1991, 1992. And from that time, so many development actually took place in the HTML. And the last version of HTML was launched in the year 2012, and that is called HTML5. So we are into HTML5 now. So in order to make a file, first we need to actually make a folder over here. And you can call the folder as my first HTML, my HTML project. That would be okay, yeah, because I have that in the list. So I just typed it. Okay, and you can name it anything, but don't keep a space between the characters. And the general rule, the standard is that once you make, so let's say this is my first app, second app, third app, fourth app. So each time I add a space, a folder to the workspace, every time I'm going to make an app in it. Okay. So inside the app, now we have to work inside this app. So what we're going to do is that the rule says that we have to make a web app folder. So we are going to make a web app folder over here. And you see a web app folder has been made. And after making the web app folder, the first file that we're going to make is, it's called as index.html. See, the extension is HTML. That's very important. That is what you have to put. Before that, you can put any name, doesn't matter, but the extension part from dot and HTML. This is a very important thing that has to be put so that the browser can understand what kind of a file it is. Otherwise, the browser won't be able to understand, and then you won't get the results out of it. And now, since we have come to this particular part, we start the writing codes on HTML. Let me just show you certain things so that we can just have an idea of what exactly we are up to. So the last class we did that and did this thing, and now there are certain terms over here that are written. And I think before going ahead into our series of videos, you need to understand certain terms. Those are written over here because they could be used interchangeably, and at times they would be very, very confusing to the extent that you will feel like banging your head. Because at times I'll be using a control for the same thing. I'll use an object for the same thing. I'll use a class. So, and then I'll use the same tag also, an element also for the same thing. And then, these words are instance and instantiate and those kind of things are there, of course. So the first thing that you need to understand is what is a class? So a class basically is a prototype. Prototype means something at the top. Like, for example, you have a car you have a car, and when I tell about a car, the idea is that you understand that it's got a roof, and it's got wheels inside it. It's got wheels inside it, and then it's got steering over here. All right. It's got windows and doors and everything. Okay. So now, can you imagine if somebody has to make a car? He should have this kind of a picture of a car. Because this is set. He cannot go beyond it, because he cannot have a car with three wheels. Because the prototype is set. Like there should be a wheel, there should be a steering wheel, there should be lights over here, and then you have got. So once the model is set, once the car's model is set, you can make as many cars as possible. Okay. So when I say something to be a class, that means that thing consists of all the properties that is possible, in it. So if I say about a car, the car has got these properties like wheels and steering wheels and a body and those headlights and everything, and it can run. It's got a petrol tank inside it. It can do certain things, and those kind of things are there. That's called as a class. Okay. So in the context over here, what can I call as a class? If I say that button is a class, that means I think a button to be doing every possible thing that a button can do. Okay. A button has got no things to press. So you can press on a button. Okay. Then you have got multiple functionalities of button that we will see in the upcoming videos, or today, don't know. But then we understand that button is something considered to be a holistic thing that has got all the properties of a button. So in whichever way you can think a button is important for programming, the button has got all those properties. So you can use the button for multiple things. Okay. So button becomes a class. All the properties of the button, all the things, possible things, not only properties, but everything that's possible in a button. So it becomes a class. So when you make a button, let's say I've got a computer screen. One more thing, before going into the screen, this might also confuse you. When I say screen, and then you think of something else, and I think that screen to be something else, and then when we are not on the same note, then things might go a bit like unclear for both of us, and then we'll continue to behave in a different way, and that will create a lot of confusions. So when I'm saying about, I was talking about a button, and then I say a UI screen. When I say a UI screen, you see what I'm actually saying is that, let's say you're supposed to make a website. Okay. So let's say the website is a static one. A static website means just what you can see, and you can't do anything on it. So for that, somebody will tell you what to do on the UI screen. He will say that put some text over here in a box-like shape, and a label over here, written name on it. And then there should be an input box where one could write certain things. And there should be a password label, and then you can write. So what basically I'm doing is that I'm making a screen. Okay, when something could be written on on the password, and then a design, basically what I'm talking about, a design. So if you can design that on a piece of paper, no problem. But then when it is shown on a computer screen, then you have to design it in a way that computer also understand. You just can't put a sheet of paper inside the computer and ask it to make something like this. Okay, you need to code for it. Okay, so when you code and create the same design as it was in the paper, so this part is called as UI. That means user interface. When user comes and checks out, this is what he sees. So this is called as user interface, UI screen. So you have to design a screen. Okay, so in that screen there could be a button. Okay, so what I did is that when I made a button over here, so this button can be called as an object. Okay, I have created an object of button from the class. I've created one object. Okay, I can create another button. I can create another button from the same class. So I can have multiple button objects created from the same class. As I was talking about, once you have a prototype created, you can create multiple cars. In the same way, I can create, an object of button that will have the same functionality. Means this class can provide the same functionality to the button object. Okay, you see, I'm saying that as an object now. When I say an object, I have somewhere inside my mind that I'm bringing everything of the button. Like a class I was talking about, I'm bringing everything of the button in my head. A button can do this and that and so many things. Okay, multiple things that could be done in a button. So then when I mean it could do multiple things, I think it to be an object. Okay, specifically object. Okay, so remember this thing. From the class, I got an object. Okay, in order to get the object from the class, we use the word instantiate. Okay, so how will you do that? So we say we instantiated it. We got an instance of the button class. So one instance, the same instance of the button that we have, the button class that we have, we got an instance of it over here. You see, that we call as a button object. Okay, so when I get the objects inside it, and now let's say I've started making button, and then the code that I'm going to write for it, I'll write this as like this button on the HTML screen, and then and the code ends over here with again the button, BUTTON button. So I can say this button to be a control. Now, strange enough, you see, I'm using the button control. Why can't I say I'm using a button object? Means it doesn't make any sense right now. When I think of button to be the holistic thing, see, when I'm saying this as a control, then just it's a control, only a button, just a simple button, nothing inside it, just a button. When I say a button as an object, I think of it as a complete stuff, like a car, like a car. So if I try to draw an analogy, like it's just like calling a car without thinking it to be a car. Means it's just a car, not with these functionalities. So if you think of a car without its functionalities, it's like just some kind of a body that comes to your mind and nothing else of the car. In the same way, we're calling that as a button. Once you start putting the functionalities into the button, so it will still remain a button control, but then a bit heavier now. because you started putting functionalities. The button should be red in color. The width of the button should be like this, and you can carry this event on the button. So you know, and when I want to call this button somewhere, with its functionalities somewhere that I stated over here, I will think that to be a complete thing, or almost a complete thing that I'm calling. So that time it will give me the object feeling of the button, not the control feeling of the button. Okay. When you put that only over here, just like putting it, and button can't do anything. So it's just simply a button control. Okay. That control can also be called as a tag. Now, a button tag or button control. And then we have got elements. Now, the moment we use the word element, the thing that actually comes to our mind is, you know what? Let me just uh, delete my drawing and give you the, if I say the element of this page, of the page of this page, means the part that I have written, not the part that you see, the complete. That means I'm talking about this part, okay, the part I've written. So this is an element of this page. This is also 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 an element of this page. This and everything that I've written over here is an element of this page. You get the point I'm trying to mention? You see? So again, so button that I was talking about is one of the elements of the whole UI screen. See the point I'm trying to make? So for the same button, it's a class. That means a prototype. Then when I call that button somewhere in the code, it becomes an object. The same button, when I write for a UI screen, it just becomes a control. The same button can also be called as a tag. And when the same button, when it is there in the family of other tags, other controls, I'm saying one of the elements of my page. So I've got multiple elements in my page. So one of the elements is button also. So this is the interesting part that I wanted to discuss before going ahead. Let me just give you a, one of my past experiences regarding the understanding of the button object. When I actually, took the training of the UI5, the trainer was very good trainer, no doubt about that. But a person who didn't have any knowledge of computers, and he was using the terms interchangeably because he was thinking at least the person who is a trainee, should know these kind of things like elements, tags, controls, object class, and these kind of things, and they are quite familiar with it. So for me, it was like a challenging task to understand. I was like confused. Sometimes he called that as a control. Sometimes he called that as a tag. Sometimes he called the same thing as an object. And he did define it, but then, how could you understand, a person who has got no knowledge of computers or programming, for him, it is very tough to actually take these things into his brain. So, which is why, there was a lag, actually, I would say. Otherwise, the trainer was damn good. So let's now delete this part now. And let's go ahead and try to see what else have we got in it. So we have got our, where is the thing? Okay, so we downloaded the thing and here we are right now. And then, yeah, I was talking about the HTML. So it is the full form of that thing is called as hypertext markup language. So mark is missing over here. So not a mark language, but a markup language. Okay. Why markup? Because you write the code and you see it. And you get it, simply write it, get it, write it, get it. And the creators of this language are W3 schools. So whenever you are stuck somewhere, you can go to W3 schools and And let me just show you just now, while I was showing you how to bookmark the pages, I did not show you W3 schools. You see, uh, rather we could have used the bookmark, but then I removed it. Okay, so you see, these are the things that you can actually um, learn from W3 schools. Like you can learn HTML, you can learn CSS, JavaScript, SQL, and call a SQL. So it's also called a SQL. So you can also call a SQL. Then you have got this Python, then Java, PHP, and I don't know what is this. And then you have got CSS, C plus, Bootstrap, and so many things are there. All right. So since we are into HTML, first thing we need to know what to put in our meta tag. So we just type meta and try to look for it. What do you get for meta? It says HTML meta tag. So um, we can go over there and just copy the whole thing and paste it inside our head. So before we do that, what we should do first, go through the PPT and just talk a bit about this thing. Okay. So since the developers of HTML is doing free schools and so many other things that they have been doing, so good, fine. And it took around, more than 20 years to develop, and finally we are into HTML5, the latest version of it. So what is the difference between HTML5 and UI5? Because you are over here to learn HTML, CSS, and then you have to learn JavaScript, and then finally we will move into UI5. Till the point we move to JavaScript, and then we will continue to learn JavaScript all through our journey of UI5. But the people who just are interested in knowing, a bit of they need to get a launch pad for, learning HTML and those things to make website. They will stop over there, but other people will continue doing till we finish doing the UI5 and completely. You can call yourself as a front end developer, no doubt about that. Okay, so the difference between the HTML UI5 is that UI5 is a framework, and HTML5 is not a framework; it's a language, but markup language, not a programming language. It's a markup language. You just write it and you get it. Nothing like any programming stuff. So, what's the difference between programming and a markup language? It means when you do a programming, then you do a lot of uh, um, things inside it. Like you make the codes interactive. So when you make the codes interactive, then you need to write a lot of logic behind the codes, means in the codes. So, like for example, if let's say you sit on the internet and you just get a website, all right, or go to a website where there is a form. So in the form, if you put your your own credentials, and then and then you put your email and everything, and then finally you create an account somewhere. Okay, if the website allows you to do that, then I'm saying, so many government websites do, and many other websites allow you to do, just try to ask you to create an account. So that means somewhere the code is first creating your account and saving your data somewhere in the database. So some kind of a thing, a language must be there that should allow your screen to interact with some server, and then in future, if you come back again, it should be able to validate you. So you need a language for that. Okay, so what I was talking about, the difference between HTML5 and UI5. So I was saying that HTML5 is not a language, it's just a markup language, but not a programming language. So as I was talking about, programming language can do a lot of things. Means it can make the things interactive. But if you come to the point of UI5, UI5 has got nothing to do with the language. It's a framework. What is a framework? A framework is built over. Let's try to understand it this way: that let's say you want to make a button, and in order to make a button, certain things are required, and if those things have been already done for you, so that the button should on its own look good, clean, and should have a perfect height and a width, and those kind of things. So and this is how user like it. So it's not upon you to decide how much should be the length. Of course you can do that, but there should be some predefined standards on the basis of which the buttons made and other things are, the whole UI screen is defined. Okay. So if those codes are there already defined for you, so you don't have to worry about the layout of it, how should be the button look like. So then you need a framework that should help you to do that. You need to use the framework to do that. So that's the difference between a language HTML5 and UI5 is a framework. So we'll be using UI5 framework for developing the ACP related apps, but then for the starting, we're not going to UI5 and do anything. After some days, we'll go into the UI5 and do lots of things. Now, going further into our HTML, as you can see, I've made a picture over here, which is, which you can see as a head and a body. So this part you see is basically our head. This is our body. So basically, and this is my whole HTML. So in the same way, we are also going to make the head and the body. Let me just tell you that don't expect me to actually make a website, a full-fledged website the way it looks like, because once you understand how a website is made, you can improvise, you can make your own changes, because I can only give you a launch pad because I'm not there to make a website over here. But then once you understand, the codings and those things, you can work on your own, and you know where to actually go and look for the codes. And there's ChatGPT, and there are those kind of things that could help you, upgrade your skills, of course. But then the only thing is that you need a framework. I'm going to say the framework, a roadmap where you can get started, and then you can keep going. This is how it should be. Okay. So once you understand this is how it is, then it won't be a tough task for you to go ahead with it. All right. Now, so as I was talking about that, we have got head and a body. So, and the tag names you can see over here is that the syntax that's there. So I'm writing over here the tag names that we'll be using inside the body, and of course, sometimes in the head as well. And then we have got the property and the value. This is how it has to be written, and then the end tag. So every tag starts and it has to end, start and end. Okay. We'll look into it, not to worry about it, And then you have got something to bear in mind, that HTML is not case sensitive. You can write in uppercase or lowercase, no problem. Most HTML tags have got start and end tag. So most of them, not all of it. Like image tag, you don't have to. Input tag, you don't have to end it with the ending tag. So ending brackets. And browser directly understand HTML. So you write it and you will get it. So we can see it right away, and we start doing our stuff. And then HTML has got, okay, so we will come back to this particular thing, what a DOM is. First, let me just make something on the, let me make something on the coding part, and then I'll show you how these things actually turn up into. So just minimize our screen and this thing. So just delete everything that we see. And now we're going to use this meta part. Okay. Now coming back to our web IDE, we have already made it. And the declaration that we have to give is that just a declaration, nothing very special about it. It's a doc type declaration. Doc type HTML, we give it, and then we write. You don't give it, no problem. But then This is what the standard is, so you can give it in the HTML5. This is how the declaration is made. A document type means you have got, how does a document look like? A document has got a head and a body. You write the heading and then you start writing something in it. So that's a head and a body. The same way, this is how it is. And now then we are going to write HTML. So I said that you can use the uppercase or lowercase, no problem. But then I'll be using the lowercase because this is how I'm habituated to. And so this is what our HTML is. Okay, the tag. You see that what I did? I made a tag HTML, and then this part automatically got created when I just ended with this one, with this one. The moment I did this, see, it gets created on its own. So we can't have two of it, and it's showing the error. You can't have two of it. Start and an end. The start and an end. You can't two endings for one start. Okay, so which is why it's showing an error. After that, and you see, this is the help of a tool, Web IDE, that helps us to do the code completion. If we were to write the same piece of code on a notepad, then we would not get any help. It would be simply plain text that we're going to write on it, and then of course when you save it with the extension .html and just run it, and you will see it. If you want to see it, we can show it right away. Just look for the notepad, and we already have a notepad over here. And what we'll do is that we can just take this untitled thing out and just what is it doing? Come over here. I'm going to do the same thing. We don't need such a big space. So let's do the same thing over here, right? HTML. I want to show you something else then. Tag HTML. See, I finished it, but nothing came. So I have to edit myself. HTML. Done it. And then inside the HTML, we will be having a head. Finish it. And then we'll be having a body. We'll do the same thing in that one. I'm just trying to show you something that we have to write the whole bit of things on our own. Okay, inside the body, we will just write something. We'll use our h1 tag. Use our h1 tag. And there I'll write, hello, today we are going to learn HTML. All right, now just save it. I'm going to save it on desktop so that it's easily available. And just it's like extension should be HTML. File name dot. Save it. Let's come to our page and see. This is what I was talking about. You saved it, and the browser understood that, and this is my default browser, so it understood that this HTML could be your name or whatever. The second HTML should be the actual extension. So unfortunately, both are HTMLs, and that could create a confusion. But then this HTML could be anything. Coincidentally, I left it like that. So now just press it, and you see, done it. So as I was talking about, you can do that on the notepad as well. So no problem. Now just come over here and delete this thing. You're not supposed to develop it on the notepad, otherwise you won't be getting any sort of a help from the tool. Now, if you do the same thing on the VS Code, ooh, that is kind of a good help if you go with VS Code. And you know that downloading VS Code is not at all tough. You can just do that. As I was talking about, so as I was talking about making the HTML through Notepad, now we'll come back to our browser where we have this web IDE, so we don't, okay, we will be needing it sometime, a meta tag, and then just delete this one, we don't need it. We already have, okay, we need this one, we don't need this one, Control C. So coming back to our HTML, so here we can just start with the head, as it's talking about the head, and then after that we have got a body. So you see, inside the head, whatever you write, like let's see, won't be reflected. Like if I give a title tag to it, and let's say I write learn HTML, okay? Now just press this button out here, the play button, so that you can, so, but you see there is a star mark that is shown over here, you could see, and that star mark is like telling you that you have not saved it. And many a times what you're going to do is that you will do your things over here, but you will not do Control S. So what will happen, your changes won't take place, and then you will be thinking that something might have gone wrong. So okay, so let's put the play button. And do you want to allow public private network access to this app? Allow it. And you see, I haven't saved. Thing that I was telling you that I did not save. I myself did not save it. This is why nothing changed. Nothing is over here. Let me save the thing first. Now see the star is gone, and then I can come back over here and refresh it. Still, you don't see anything on the page. But you see the change has come over here. This is the title that you see on what program you're working. And I could help you to understand, this is what you're working on. So that title is very important. Okay. Otherwise, if you have got so many tabs open over here, you'd be able to understand your tab well in your own, given title. Okay. So after that, what we're going to bring here is that we're going to bring some meta things. Those are there in it. So we'll simply copy it and just put it over here. Okay. And put it over here, right? So just put a tab. This particular thing, viewport and content initial scale 1, 0 is basically for, this particular thing is basically for, responsiveness. By responsiveness, what I mean is, we will come back to this particular point later. Let me just show you a bit of a thing that we have done over here. Otherwise, you might get a bit confused. Okay. Now over here, you see the first meta means, these things have to be put before you go on with your, making your website. The first thing that is a char set that tells you the UTF-8. What exactly is UTF-8? It's kind of an encoder and decoder. So whatever you write in your body, has to be strained by, has to be encoded with the, with the thing that is called as the UTF, so that the encoding that is done onto your whatever codes that you write should be seen in a proper way across the world. So if you don't put the UTF-8, then the default changer that is there, that is used for encoding the characters that you write in it, and that's ASCII and those kind of things. So that might not be encoded in a right way, and when they are, seen on somebody else's screen, then it might not give you the right picture. So, but when you put the UTF-8 standard over here, then whatever you write on the body is perfectly seen on anybody's screen, whoever tries to access your app, because this particular UTF-8 has the potential to encode the things and then decode it in somebody else's computer across the world. So, which is why this char set is important. And after that, the description that you see, free web tutorial. So when these are the things that people write on. How do you search? Go to the Google now. Okay, you are already in the Google. So if you write free web tutorials, and you see these are the things, those are there. So when I type it, free web tutorial, so this particular thing, free web tutorial, is read by the engine that is there in it, and then these phrases are read, and then the website shows you the thing that you want, that you have searched, and more things are there after that. You see the keywords like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So these are the keywords. Those are also important for the search as well. The engine, the web engine, the browser engine searches for these things like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So and then finally, you are rendered with the kind of material you are looking for. So it could be the browser engine or maybe some other engine. I'm not too sure about it, but then this is how it goes on. After that, then you have got the name, and you can just write your own name, and the name would be like your own name you can write. I'll write my own name, no problem. Okay, so, and then this is for responsiveness. That means just put it over there and don't have to worry about it. Like a responsiveness mean that when you actually uh, see the app in different screens, like the size of the screen might differ. So when you have your, when you are viewing the same thing on a laptop, and then you're viewing the same thing on some other screen like a mobile, so it should have the ability to make itself compresses itself in such a way that the meaning of the website is not lost. So for that, you need to use certain things, these meta informations, so that it should be understood in a proper way. So this is how it is. And uh, and what else can we write over here? All these styling tags and controls can be given over here. The JavaScript that we will learn very shortly will also be written over here. So if you want to learn JavaScript, then we can also learn, we will put the codes over here. But inside our body, so what I was saying is that styling could be done over here. The JavaScript script codes could be done over here. And then inside the body, this is the standard I'm talking about. Still, you have the choice. You can do it inside the body as well, no problem. Now, the first thing that we have to learn, that we are in the body part now. So put our h1 tag and we will say, what is JS? What is JavaScript? And we'll try to see the effect of it. So just delete this thing responsiveness but remember the word responsiveness, you'll be hearing it so many times. Come over here and refresh the page. I've already saved it and you see what we get. This is what we get. What is JavaScript? And this is how it is. Now, this is the h1 tag. Is there a h0 tag? I don't know. Never tried it. Let's try it today. H0. Did we get anything? Well, we will definitely get something, but like something like this, maybe it's reading it in its own ways by understanding h0. Even if you don't pass, I suppose, even a h0 or anything, will it still read it? So it's still showing the same thing. So, but our h1 tag was first tag. We want something to be big. Now, using the same thing for the next piece of code, here we're going to use this h2 and try to see the effects of it. What do we see? This particular thing is a bit smaller than the earlier one. So when you want to have a bit smaller sort of thing, then you can possibly use it. Then for the h3, there's the h3, and then we have got h4 as well, up to h5 or h6. Check out yourself to what point we have this thing. You see that we have got 4 of them, and you see it gets smaller and smaller subsequently. You use bigger numbers with the h, and that's quite interesting. So interesting part is that today we have started our first HTML, and in the next video we'll be talking more about it. And I don't want to make the videos a bit longer so that you should not lose your interest. So you can go and practice the whole thing and come tomorrow. And yeah, and one more thing, like you see, you just can copy the whole thing like this. Control C. I just did Control A to copy the whole thing and did a Control C. I can come back over here in our Visual Studio Code. If you are not accustomed to Visual Studio Code, let me just tell you, it's another tool for working, and it's one of the best tools. I like it so much. When I say I like it so much, you should go ahead with it. But just don't give a second thought to it. It takes 2 minutes to 3 minutes or 5 minutes to download it, not like WebID that takes 1 hour to just understand the whole scenario, how to do that. But then just go ahead with it and just download it. Once you download this particular thing, let me just tell you how we can use it. It's a bit tricky. You just can't start doing the things from here. What you need to do is that just create a folder somewhere over here. I'm creating a folder, okay, new folder on my desktop. And what I'm saying is I'm saying that VS Code projects, okay? And inside this VS Code project, I'll create another folder with a new name folder and say my first HTML, okay? Just this much. Done it. And just delete it. Now, means I just minimized it. Excuse me. Now come back to your VS Code. That's already over here in the footer. And go to the file and open folder. You see, there is no like open file. I'm going to say create file. It asks you to open the folder. That means whatever you do, you have to save it in the folder. Because as you've seen in the WebID, you don't have to do that. The folder space and everything is all managed by WebID, but here you have to do it separately. So this is why you have to make a folder. So once you go and open your folder, it'll ask you, where is the folder? I say that's on the desktop. You go to desktop, this is the folder. Just double click it and press it just once. You see my first HTML, done. Select the folder and come back over here. So you'll get a brand new page with everything that, okay, I just trust it, no problem. And from here, you can just add a file. So first, I will not add a file, rather add a folder in the same way I did that on my on WebIDE. So it's web app, and now on it, you can right click it, add a file. Right click and add a file and say, my HTML, my, let's make it index.html. This is what I'm habituated, which is what I was thinking what to do with it. So it's in index.html. Just come over here and just paste the code like this over here. I just pasted it. I did a control C over there. And now I just pasted it. And I'll do the same thing. I'll run. So in order to run the code, this index.html, you have to come over here on top and come and say, I want to run the code. So no, not on the top, but over here. Right click, open in reveal in File Explorer. Okay, this is the thing. Come over here and you see in your, where does it come from? Let me just show it to you. You see, this is the one that we made. Double click, and this is the one that we made. And when I double click it, you will see the web app which we created on VS Code is now over here. You can see over here, and you double click it and you see your index.html. So if you're looking in case, where is this index.html is? So I'm just telling you, this is how it is. It's so simple. It's inside a folder, under another folder, another folder, and then you have the index.html file. So it is here only, okay? No problem. And come over here again, right click, reveal in File Explorer. So double click it, and you see the same thing happening over here. Nothing new. Okay, so thanks for watching the video. In the next video, we'll be talking more about the tags and other stuffs.